Okay, we're rolling.
Okay.
Dee, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell me about Reach and what you guys do?
I can. REACH is a local to Bozeman nonprofit. We provide residential, vocational, and transportation supports to about 90 adults with developmental disabilities here in our community
How long have you been with them?
since February of 1999.
Okay, so
So,
long time.
yeah, my adult life,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
How did you get started there? How did they get started, and what's their the mission, and what are they?
So, our mission is to empower the people we serve to attain their individual goals and aspirations. So, we provide individualized care based on both what the person wants and what they're capable of. Um, back in, I moved to Bozeman in May of 98 and found myself kind of on the hunt of, early 20s looking for a job. And there wasn't a lot of options in Bozeman back in the late 90s. So the Chronicle didn't work for me. The hospital wouldn't have me. MSU was real competitive back in the day. And I had experience in this field. I did part-time work in this field in college. And so I started at Reach thinking it was going to be temporary and was in direct care as a work services specialist, helping people find and maintain employment, and loved it and never had a reason to go.
And your role, what's your role right now there?
I'm the executive director.
Okay, and how long have you been in that position?
I signed the paperwork to become executive director in February of 2020 and
Okay.
started in March of 2020, which was extremely poor timing, if you ask me.
Oh
But
yeah,
it was challenging.
yeah,
hmm
that's very cool. So you that was a
I've
cool
done,
progression, yeah.
yeah, I've done a lot of the jobs there. Yeah.
As far as the people, the people that are part of it, who are you serving? What's the demographic?
So all of our clients are 18 years of age or older. Our oldest gentleman is in his mid 80s, and he's been at Reach since 1975. It is lifetime services, so we will get people in when they're relatively young, early 20s, a few late teens, and then they can stay in our services as long as they need. We do have people kind of passing at home in our housing, and we have 4 different levels of service, which provide different levels of support. So someone can come in, need 24-hour care, work really hard to be more independent, move into the 2 levels of care that don't have 24-hour support, and then as they age and they need more care, just that's the nature of the beast. If you have the privilege of getting old, they can go back into the 24-hour care and get more supports that way. So it's a really interesting service, and it's interesting as someone who's been in the field for 26, 27 years, because I have relationships with people that go back to my first day at Reach, and we've kind of aged together, and that's fun.
You said housing. Is there housing for all of them?
Of the 90 people that we serve, half of them live in Reach-owned housing.
Okay.
And we have, in the housing that Reach owns, we have 5 houses and then 2 apartment complexes. I'm hoping to start a capital campaign soon. That's not official yet, but I'm hoping that soon, within the next few years, there'll maybe another building.
Oh, cool. And
Mhm.
then you guys are transporting them to and from wherever they need to go, essentially.
Yeah, work, medical appointments, recreational activities. Um, there are staff that have the privilege of driving our clients to Bridger Bowl for Eagle Mount skiing and to the bowling alley for Special Olympics bowling. And then, there's a lot of medical appointments at Reach, so we do a lot
And
of
are
that.
you guys putting on a lot of the stuff that they're doing, or are you taking them to stuff that's outside the organization? Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule Media is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, or passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, post it in your story. That one simple action helps these businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this show keep going. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. Now back to the show.
We're doing typical stuff that you would do with your family, we're doing with the clients.
Mhm.
So, celebrating birthdays and going for walks and assisting them in purchasing items for crafts. But we do have to work cooperatively with like Special Olympics and Eagle Mount for the access to things like the ski hill.
Yeah.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah, a while back I had Drew on from Eagle Mount,
Mhm.
and it was very fun just to hear what they do, and
Mhm.
he's got a good outlook and a fun perspective,
Yeah.
given his injury and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have these different programs that they're doing, or you're taking them to these different programs. All of these people essentially need 24-hour care. Is that what I'm?
No.
So it's varies a lot.
It varies a lot. So we have some folks who need full support. They can't get out of bed without our assistance. They can't change their clothes. They can't use the bathroom. They can't shower. And we're assisting with eating and bathing and all that stuff. And then we have folks that you would meet in the community and not even know that they have a disability. They might seem a little quirky
Mhm.
or be able to remember your name after meeting you once, and it's a little shocking. But some of our clients have a lot of skills and really only use us for things like protection from exploitation, balancing checkbooks, assistance with food shopping and healthy eating and relationships. So there's a real wide spectrum of supports that we provide.
And as far as funding for this, how is that?
A lot of our clients receive Medicaid funding. And so that covers about 70 to 75% of our funding. We do have to fundraise about $1 million last year. So fundraising is a big part of Reach's funding.
Okay. When I was a kid growing up, I grew up in upstate New York, and my aunt worked at different places. A lot of them were either by the state or county,
Hmm.
but a lot of them closed down. And I know
Yes.
that's when there was a lot of issues just because there was not alternative options for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's troublesome. It's still so we contract with the state. Uh, so we are a private nonprofit, but the Medicaid funding is through the state of Montana, which is through the feds. But there are a lot of challenges, and most service providers are either shrinking or in danger of closing just because the Medicaid rates do not go up, but wages. When I took this executive director job in 2020, our base wage for direct care staff was $12 an hour, and now our lowest wage is 19. And most of the wages are higher than that. And so, but our rates have not gone up 50%, even though our wages have. So, a lot of organizations are struggling in a big way, and costs of food and everything like that. So, we are lucky that we are in Bozeman, and Gallatin County is incredibly supportive of our work, in terms of financially and giving our clients jobs, because our clients also have to kind of supplement their income with work. So, yeah, we do have a lot of help in keeping our doors open.
Is that the biggest pinch point is funding, affordability, and staffing?
Staffing is our main challenge right now. Yeah. It's getting a lot better in the last year. I think part of that is changes to the economy, but I also think part of that is that um, COVID kind of changed the landscape, and it's normalizing back out. We have a really The work is not easy, but it can be really fun and really rewarding, and I think word is getting back out, uh, that it's a place worth working at, so it is improving, but it's really rent is out. It's hard for people to live in the area on our wages.
Yeah. And if you, and that all kind of goes back to funding what you guys can afford to
Mhm.
pay.
Mhm.
I told you my aunt worked at they were either state or county facilities. We were kids. We grew up on a dairy farm,
Nice.
and she would take, she would always say like, "Oh, I can bring the clients here. I could bring them there. Do you guys want to come?" So we would go to her with work sometimes. We would bring some of the farm animals. We
Nice.
literally had brought like a goat
Yeah.
and a baby cow,
Yeah.
which seems crazy now that I'm thinking about it, but they would love it. It was a highlight of their day.
Mm.
And it was a cool experience. But I remember a lot of those were just closing down. And it
Mm.
was like there wasn't all these resources. And I don't know why. I'm sure there's some geopolitical reason why that happened, but um yeah, they're just not there from what I understand the way they used to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges, and we face a challenge in this area that in 2017, the state changed the way that they do case management, and there was a really big, um, the system kind of crumbled a little bit. They're building it back up right now. We have a couple great case managers in Bozeman, but I think there's 2 or 3 people out of 4 or 5. They're still really short, and so, that kinda changes the accessibility for the people who are waiting for services, and in Montana, there's about as many people waiting for services as there are receiving services.
Okay.
So, the challenge we have is we had, an opening at one of our apartment complexes, and we couldn't find anyone to fill it, and then we did an e-blast, an email that went out to all our supporters that just said, "Hey, we have an opening at this apartment," and now I've got 7 or 8 people that are interested in that spot, and that's just from our e-blast. That's not from, a statewide everyone who's on the wait list.
Yeah.
That's just so it's really the demand is pretty high for these services.
Do you know if there's a lot of these facilities in Billings or any of the bigger cities, Helena,
Yeah,
Missoula?
there's actually a group called the Montana Association of Community Disability Services, and it's the service providers kind of all working together to help each other. And I think there's like 46 or 47 people in that nonprofit group. So we pay dues into there and then kind of keep up with each other when the laws change and the rules change constantly. And so helping each other really becomes necessary to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, and I think I heard you speak a while back I think it was at Reach because we hosted a chamber.
Yes.
What your connection to this work and how'd you get into it?
Well, I was in Massachusetts when I was in college. I needed more money for my super fun party habits, and so I got a job. I was a busboy at a cafe and a bookstore. It was terrible. The pay was garbage, and so I went to a party one day and sat next to a guy who just started talking, and I kind of went with it. And he was not. It was not a typical conversation. And it turned out he was impersonating a gentleman who had special needs that needed a one-on-one staff person. And he said, "Wow, that was pretty cool." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you want a job?" And I started in a house for folks. There were 7 people that lived there, and 4 of them were behaviorally intensive. And it was the first thing that I ever felt like I was good at. So when I moved to Bozeman and got the job at Reach, just kind of was a natural fit for me. Um, I do since then, I have a niece who, has Down syndrome,
Okay.
who there was a short time we were talking about her moving to Bozeman when she turned 18, and I wanted to make sure that there was a good place for her here. There's a good I mean, Bozeman really is an excellent place for folks if they have the resources. But, the deeper I go into the work, again, I have 27-year relationships with a lot of these folks, and even the newer clients who come in, I just feel really invested in their welfare and their happiness, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I told you growing up, my cousin Ben had pretty severe autism.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you this before. I heard this on a podcast, and I don't know if you can speak to it, but she was kind of trying to explain what the world might look like to someone with severe autism or maybe anywhere on the spectrum. But she said this kid, I don't remember if it was a boy or girl, but he would essentially like just stop in his tracks in a room, and then like run into the other room, like stop like he heard something and run into the other room and like catch a fly or something.
Mhm.
And just sort of the senses that, maybe beyond just our 5 typical, that they might have these different intuitive senses or whatever you call it. And I don't know how much you can speak to that, but that always fascinated me to think of what the perspective could be like.
Yeah, I am not a neuroscientist,
Uh,
but I am sold on, you know, if your brain works differently, your experiences will be different. And we have clients who have some incredible gifts that most folks couldn't comprehend. Like we have a client who can literally point out the window and say snow, snow. And you look out and it's blue sky and he can just tell that the snow is coming. He can point at a light and say when it's going to go out. He'll point at a light and the light will look fine and he'll say light, 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 light. And then within a day, it's going to go out and you have to replace the light bulb. There's a client of ours that is pretty notorious in Bozeman who you can meet him once and he'll know your name. And every time you see him at his workplace, he'll greet you by name and ask you about your mom by name. He just has it kind of down. And so there are some gifts. I did have I'm going to sound real crazy for a couple minutes, but I had a dream once about one of our nonverbal clients. She was holding some sand in her hand and there were these little like sparkly planets. And she was holding this out, and she looked me in the eye, and she said, and she can't talk typically, but she said, "You need to learn to listen." And I just had this I woke up and I went to see her the next day, and the way she looked at me, I thought, "D I know I sound absolutely insane," but I was like, "I think this woman just talked to me in my dream."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt it. Things when the brain works different, I think you can access different things. My father-in-law is blind, and um, he can tune into his other senses in ways that I can't because I'm so dependent on my eyes, and my brain just has these natural routes. So I'm a huge believer in we couldn't do enough studying the brain to find out what's going on, but it's definitely there are gifts that our clients have for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think you sound crazy.
Okay.
I've probably said much crazier things on
Okay.
this podcast, but I've understand that too. If your eyes are closed and you listen to something, your listening will heighten because you're
Mhm.
turning off one of the senses. So that
Mhm.
makes complete sense that yeah, I think there's so much going on, and that's how my cousin Ben is. It wouldn't matter if I haven't seen him in 5 or 6 years, knows my name and he'll remember something and he'll like repeat, he'll be like, "You remember when you did this?" And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Mhm.
And I'll really think and maybe I will, but yeah, the things he can recite and remember, it's fascinating.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, certain things can just be really overstimulation. And
Mhm.
that's why, they might be anxious or worked up because I don't know, something's just overstimulating them.
Yeah, there is sensory sensitivity is pretty common with the folks that we serve. And, people don't think about it, but, for us, if there's like a hair on your neck, you don't notice, but for them, it may be really irritating and upsetting. And it's, it is fascinating. And again, you can't go deep enough. And one of the things too that I like about this population is social norms kind of go out the window.
Mhm.
Part of our job is helping people blend a little bit better in society, but at Reach in our work center, it's like you get to be you. And, I kinda like throwing some of those social norms out the window and all of us just embracing who we are, and,
Yeah. It's
it's
probably relieving, I'd
it is.
imagine.
Yeah, and relaxing. It's nice.
26 years you've been there?
Yeah,
7?
26 years, it'll be 27 years in February.
What's your takeaway from working with I'm sure it's a wide variety of different people.
Yeah.
I imagine it changes your whole outlook on humanity and the compassion you have and just, for the differences in people.
Yeah, my main thing is that I think a lot of folks who aren't exposed to this population are missing out. And I always encourage people to get to know Reach clients, or if you have someone in your life who has special needs, or a friend with a kid with special needs, or someone with special needs in your school, I'm always like, take some time to get to know them because I think people are consistently surprised about how deep the relationships go. The quality of the experiences hanging out with folks in this population. I don't want to romanticize them. I mean, some of them are, difficult, and
Yeah.
I mean, we're human, right? But I just when people ask me about the challenges in my job, or they say, "You must be so patient to work at Reach," I'm like, "I'm patient with, the political bureaucrats that, don't understand the value of the folks I work with and why we should fund supporting them. That's what takes patience, you
Mhm.
know?" And so I just, I think it's an underestimated population of interesting people.
Yeah, and I say a similar thing with kids all the time. For a while, I coached kids martial arts, jujitsu,
Mm.
and I think it's so much fun, and I really just like kids. And I even did a mentoring program, with middle school kids, the CAP program.
Nice.
And people would always say that, "Oh man, like, how do you deal with those kids?" I'm like, like the kids are fine. It's like the fully functioning grown adults that like those are the ones that like my tolerance is much lower.
Mhm.
And I'd imagine in this case, you have a lot more compassion and that, like, similar to the kids, it gives you more joy in life. There's just not the same. Um, yeah, it's easier in my opinion, it's easier to be patient with kids or people with any type of disability because they're just, I don't know, like
Yeah.
there's that grace.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, that's another thing that I've kinda learned from this is I remember when I was in direct care back in the old days when we used checks at the grocery store, and I was at the grocery store helping someone with their shopping, and he really wanted to live independently, and part of that was managing his own money, and he was trying to write a check at the checkout counter, and there was someone behind him just getting frustrated and, said something unkind, about his intelligence. why is it taking you so long? And then insulted him. And my heart just broke in half. And I thought, just because this man doesn't obviously have a disability, you are being cruel. And it's one of those, cheesy online memes of, you never know what someone else is going through. He was trying really hard to get that check written and have a life that involved more independence, and the person behind him was making it more difficult. I had to bite my tongue, and I did. It was a proud moment, but also it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'd imagine you do like that. You do develop a totally different patience and appreciation for people where they're at
Mm-hmm.
because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all do that as humans, myself included. As you get impatient, you get short with somebody, and you don't know the nuance of what they're going through, whether it's what's going on in their life. Is their family well? Are they dealing with things personally, or do they have someone in their family with a disability, somebody who's ill? It's
Mm-hmm.
so I'd imagine, yeah, that probably gives you a really cool perspective because you see that and you can appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I think it's an advantage for anyone that can think that farther. Just think a little bit broader than why are you taking so long?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know the best way to segue into this, but you do a lot of running,
I
so
do.
how does that tie in with what you do?
Oh, in a huge way. I mean, I used to just run because I struggled with sleeping and anxiety. And um, my first run was the Bridger Ridge Run, which is a whole story in itself. But I actually, when I got the fundraising job at Reach, which I was in for 9 years, and it's the job I had before I became executive director, the events and the capital campaign for a building, it was all so challenging and a lot of problem solving and pressure and public out there kind of stuff. And one of the things that happened was like, it seems like running a 50K for 6 to 8 hours seems easier than doing the Reach Have a Heart art auction for a whole day and a half. So why not give it a shot? And it turns out that not only was ultra running easier than working at Reach, but I really enjoy being outside and all the training. And 2020 was pretty hard for me, that transition into executive director during the pandemic. And at the time, there was a book out that I was reading that talked a lot about like walking into your fear and taking risks and potentially failing. Um, and while I was reading that book, the author was running the Moab 240, and I was following him as he went through, and then a friend of mine did it the next year. And that race, kind of watching that race and thinking about that, kind of helped me get through a hard time. And I ended up volunteering in 2024. I believe in gratitude with action. I wanted to thank the race and the people who put it together. So I volunteered for 31 hours straight at mile 200 of a 240-mile race. It was really inspiring. And what I didn't know is if you volunteer, you get an automatic entry and a pretty chunky discount. It's an expensive race. And I called my husband and I was like, I'm thinking of doing this. And I said, you're going to be neglected. He said, we're not getting any younger, Dee. Time to do it. So I did train for and attempt the Moab 240 this year. I totally didn't think I was going to do it. I enjoyed the training and thought I'm going to see how far I can get. And because I had a really great group of crew and pacers, I actually did get to the finish line. I'm wearing my belt buckle and everything right now. So
That's so cool.
it was really fun. I highly recommend anyone who's interested in doing it, training for it and giving it a shot for sure.
What was the book?
The book was Can't Hurt Me, family-friendly
Okay,
version.
yeah, yeah.
I know David Goggins is kind of an imperfect hero, and but I got to meet him at Moab 240 and say thank you, and he was real nice.
I know I don't think he has any other books, so it's
He
definitely
has
it's.
two. He has two.
I'm trying to figure out which one's up there, but I know one of them's up there.
Yeah. There's two books.
Yeah, it is. Can't hurt me. It's over there on the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Do you have the family friendly or the one with all the F-bombs in
No,
it?
it's not the family friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
My cousin Kathy, she manages a bookstore where we grew up, and she's like, "Oh, it's like any of these you could take. These ones are damaged, and that one was there." I haven't read it, but I listened to the whole audiobook,
Yes.
which is even more intense.
Yes. Well, because he does the podcast in it.
Yeah,
We're pro podcast here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
pro podcast. It's a funny story. When I was listening to that book, I drove like 30 hours straight,
Wow.
and I didn't need to. Like, but I was like, my adrenaline, like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty compelling and
Yeah.
motivating.
Yeah.
Do you guys do anything with anyone in these centers as far as, if the running you're using it, it could be for mental health in a lot of ways, therapeutic. Do you guys is there anything going on with anyone that's a part of Reach as far as, trying to any way to manage any disabilities, or is there any research that's done on anything, or is this just more strictly a place for them to live?
Right now, well, I mean, we do, it's a holistic life experience kind
Mhm.
of thing. Traditionally, it has been housing, jobs, transportation, and then again, collaboratively with Eagle Mountain Special Olympics. But I do want to expand into a more holistic environment. There are some changes that we've made since I've become executive director, and there's a lot more dogs at Reach now. We're dog friendly. It started in the pandemic when the clients were sheltering in place. And we at the time we had to follow the instructions of the health department, and that was the way that they were. Our clients are the most vulnerable to illness for anything, whether it's the flu or COVID. Every winter, a couple clients end up in ICU with pneumonia. They're medically vulnerable. A lot of our folks. So we started, the staff started like bringing in dogs or bringing clients to their ranches and farms to meet animals, and having the dogs in the houses and then eventually in the work center was so positive for the clients and the staff that we worked there. It is a weak spot for Reach and a
Mhm.
place where I'd like to grow in that, having more of a holistic wellness, more activities that are, it's hard when we're short staffed.
Yeah.
Um, to kinda add anything extra, and I hate to say it as extra, but, right now, I have these daydreams of starting, like, a walking group and a running group with our clients
Yeah.
and staff, but it takes so much time.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would be cool, like, even
Mhm,
a walking group just
mhm.
to
Get
feel that
people out.
sense of community and get them moving.
Yeah, and one of the things about the ultra running is I train year round, and I've gotten a real strong appreciation for, um kind of the changing seasons and the changing weather and still being out there. I mean, I stop if it's like 10 below or colder, then I usually don't go out or I don't go out very long. But there's a few weeks about, every year that it's a little too cold. But most of the year you can be out if you're dressed right. But again, our clients have limited financial resources and the clothing and the gear and all that takes a little bit.
What do you average running on a week right now when you're not training, or maybe you are training for something, I don't know.
I'm gonna start actually today starts training for my next race, which is gonna be I've got a few little ones in the middle, but my next big race is gonna be the Copper Kings 100 in Butte. It's their
Okay.
second year. It's a cool race. But at the peak of Moab, I was doing like 85 miles a week, 10,000 feet of elevation gain, and then also like hot yoga 3 times a week. It was a lot. Right now, I'm doing like 25 or 30 miles a week because I'm coming back from Moab. My body's still recovering. I'm mostly recovered, but I got a little ways to go.
And I imagine that, like, time is probably the biggest thing, just the amount of time it takes to log that many miles in a week.
Yeah, it was a lot of weekend hours. I would wake up at like 3:30 to do my pre-work out workouts. And so yeah, I didn't sleep as much as I'd like. A
Mhm.
lot of the folks who do the Moab 240 are either really rich and, can pay a lot of money or don't have a job, or they're like, van bums that are, just traveling from race to race and running wherever they are and living on ramen. And it's unusual to have a job that's 50 hours a week and still be training at that level. But I do
Yeah,
that.
that's a lot.
It is, but it's fun.
Where are you typically running? Is it trail running?
It's trail run in the summer, especially. And because Moab had two peaks over 10,000 feet, I did quite a bit of, to the top of mountains. In the winter, I end up doing a lot of like M repeats and Mount Ellis repeats,
Mhm.
and wherever I can get a little bit of elevation just over and over again.
Did you do a lot of big sky training for Moab?
Not Big Sky, but definitely in the Galtons and the Spanish Peaks and Highlight and Bridgers and yeah, anywhere nearby.
Were you trying to get elevation a lot for that too?
Yeah, I had like I think it was like 6 or 8 weekends where the goal was over 10,000 feet, and they were in a row, so, I was training basically for a chunk of my training, it was time on feet and elevation versus miles. And then it ends up being a lot of miles, anyway, but yeah.
So what's the mental game? What's going on in your head when you're at mile, I don't know, 200 and something?
Well, 200 and something, I was hallucinating. I actually I had pacers starting at mile 68. My friend Michael did over 100 miles with me, and then another friend did 30 and another friend did 40, so I had, people who helped me not get lost and, kind of stay sane. At one point, I was very hypothermic and my brain wasn't working, but at mile 200 plus, I was walking with my friend Ryan, or speed hiking, however you wanna say it, and we were on kind of this 4x4 road, and these 2 people in these very sparkly, very silly devil costumes invited me to a party, and I said, "I can't go to your party. I gotta finish this race," and Ryan said, "Dee, there's nobody here. I don't know who you're talking to," and I saw those folks. They were real. They looked real, and so your brain really gets wacky. I mean, it was pretty trippy, but it was fun. I mean, there's definitely some discomfort, physical discomfort. I mean, my feet were wrecked. I ended up with a shin tendon problem that started at uh, Jacob's Ladder, which is a very steep technical downhill at like mile 20 something. So for 200 miles, I had some pain. But the mental game is like, I'm not going to stop unless a bone's sticking out, I'm peeing blood, or I get pulled from the course because I'm taking too long. Literally, like, brainwash myself and just keep going.
That's insane.
It was fun. I mean, it was fun.
How'd you build that mentality to do that?
Part of it is learning to love the experience, but also, again, during 2020, 21, and 22 were the hardest years of my life because of work. I was very committed to Reach, but Reach was struggling. At one point, we had a 34% staff vacancy rate, and everybody who worked at Reach was working a ton of overtime, burnt out and scared. And I was trying to be a leader. And one of the things that happened was learning to kind of capture the moments of calm and the moments of beauty. I remember one time on a very hard day, I was driving to work, and the sun was rising behind the bridgers, and the mountains were beautiful. And it had already been a hard day. Emergencies had started way early in the morning, and I was driving to the office, and I just remember thinking, I need to enjoy this moment right now. And that actually became a superpower over those 3 years, was just learning to set aside the stress and the anxiety and sometimes the physical pain when I'm running, and find the moments that are beautiful and inspiring and grab them and wait for them and trust that they're going to come. One of the training things with the Moab was there were 4 overnights that I did, one of them by myself, and I got really clear that, like, in the dark, mentally, it's much harder, and I would get more likely to be down on myself or to not have fun. And so even just knowing, like, the sun's going to come up, just wait for the sun to come up, is part of it. Trusting in just everything is always changing, and the good times are fleeting and the hard times are fleeting. And so just kind of rolling with it and problem solving. I think problem solving's fun, or I wouldn't be executive director at Reach.
Mhm.
So,
And how about physically? What's the protocol for this race as far as just trying to keep your body able to do that many miles?
well, I would say, in training, you have to be willing to do more than just run. Um, Full disclosure, I did get a coach.
Mhm.
I won him. I won 4 free months of coaching and was like, this is so much easier, and he's very affordable. It's all online. But I was surprised at, there was a lot of hiking, and there was some running, but there was also like hot yoga and strength training. And so it's the variety of just, and my next hurdle is kind of improving my nutrition.
Mhm.
I don't eat as well as I could. I don't like cooking, so I eat the same things over and over again. So that's next level. That's this year.
What was the
Capricorn.
first thing you did when you finished? What did you eat? What did you want to do?
Well, I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. I was too happy. the first thing we ate, we went out. There's a really good Indian restaurant in Moab that I didn't want to eat before the race because of stomach stuff.
Mhm.
So that's what we ate. That was my first meal after. Um, and, but well, I wanted to shower. I very desperately wanted to shower and use my Sonicare toothbrush. I was a little bit obsessed with my toothbrush for like 10 miles around. It was like mile 180 to 190. I just wanted my Sonicare toothbrush. I just wanted to brush my teeth. So it was shower and brush teeth and then try and sleep, which was a giant fail. And then laughing with my friends and
Mhm.
going out for lunch.
Was it weird, like, the next week coming down from that
I
experience?
still haven't come down.
Oh, wow.
I'm a
That's good.
month out and I still feel.
Might as well just stay up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, there is post-race blues are real.
Yeah.
But I may have had some brain damage during the hypothermia, and maybe this is just how I am. It'd be nice if it sticks. Typically in November, I have some seasonal blues, but not this November.
And it's still nice. The sun's
I
shining. It's beautiful
know
out.
it's real nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got the Butte one coming up. Do you ever foresee doing Moab again?
Yeah, I started looking at other 200s in 2027. I want to give back in 26. So I want to help somebody else because I had a crew and pacers that there's no way I would have finished without them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give someone else the opportunity, either volunteering at an aid station or crewing and pacing someone else. But I'm looking for races in 2027, and Moab is the perfect race. I mean, for someone who's training in Bozeman, you get the whole summer to train. You get an excuse to be on the trails all summer long. And Moab is the perfect combination of like, there's some challenging stuff in the mountains, but there's also some really mellow like roads that you can run on if you've got the legs for it. Moab is spectacularly beautiful. And then for access with your crews and pacers, they don't have to go very far. There's no
Mm-hmm.
like hard to get to spots when your crew's supporting you. So it's a great race. I mean, anyone who's interested, I highly recommend giving it a shot.
I think you told me how many people participate, how many complete.
There were 255 registered and 150 finished, so there was like a 44% drop rate. I was 109th, which again, I didn't even expect to finish. So the fact that I wasn't last was pretty surprising to me. It took me 111 hours and 39 minutes or something like that, 38 minutes. So
That's insane. So what is that?
it's 4.5
Yeah,
days.
96 is 4 days. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. Highly recommend.
Cool.
Yeah. And working at Reach, I recommend that too.
Okay, so if anyone wants to, support Reach, is there are you guys looking for anything? Is there anything you guys need as far as employees or just help in the community or?
We are always looking for weekend and overnight staff.
Mhm.
We're also donations. We have two major events that we're always looking for volunteers. One is the Have a Heart art auction, which is the first Saturday in February. And even just coming, we have a lot of clients that come to that event, and it's a good place to kind of get to know them in a fun way. Our July 4th run, we're always looking for volunteers, and that's another place where you can meet some of our clients. And anyone that just wants to learn more about what we do, I would encourage them to contact me and I'll give you a tour and talk about what we do. We also have an information night on December 11th at 5:30. And that's for folks who are interested in actually receiving our services or their family members, because people don't realize you have to have a case manager, you have to have a cost plan, you have to be in the Medicaid waiver system. It's very complicated. And so we teach people basically how to navigate that system and what Reach does. So we do have a website. It's www.reachinc.org. And if you go to the Who We Are page, I think my email's on there and people are welcome to email me. I'm happy to talk to anyone about Reach anytime. I really do love Reach with my heart. And, it's a calling, I think. So anyone who wants to learn more, I'll talk about it.
Cool. Well, congrats on 26 years there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats on the Moab.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I'll put all these links in the description and
Thank you.
hopefully some people can find some more information.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
Dee.
I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Yeah, likewise. Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.